Using the internet has historically required you to operate as a manual laborer on an assembly line. You query a search engine, receive a flat list of links, and read through them one by one. If you are researching competitor pricing or planning a complex trip, your screen quickly fills with dozens of disconnected tabs. You copy numbers from a website, paste them into a spreadsheet, and synthesize the information by hand. The architecture forces the browser to act strictly as a passive viewer for static documents. You can look at the raw data, but the browser itself cannot help you construct anything with it. Google Labs is actively retiring this architecture. Powered by the multimodal infrastructure of Gemini 3, their experimental browser platform, Google Disco, treats the entire internet as raw material. Human beings rarely complete complex tasks by staring at a single web page. We browse in journeys. Moving from isolated text queries to a workflow environment targets the manual effort required to manage scattered data across multiple platforms. The core mechanism driving this environment is called GenTabs. When you open multiple tabs for a project, the system reads and interprets the underlying data structures across every page simultaneously. Instead of spitting back a block of summarized text, the browser writes code in real time. It generates a custom, interactive web application directly inside your workspace. Developer circles refer to this process as vibe coding. You express your intent in plain human language, and the system translates that intent into functional software. If you ask for a pricing comparison, the platform analyzes the active competitor tabs and builds a functioning dashboard, complete with automated tracking mechanisms and interactive visualization charts. You no longer have to map out relationships manually. The browser absorbs the structural heavy lifting, allowing you to focus entirely on analyzing the final output. Standard conversational AI tools operate outside your workflow. They scrape information, serve an answer, and suppress the source links. Disco, by contrast, relies on the live web. This is grounded assembly. Your open tabs act as authoritative material, feeding live data into the GenTab application. Every generated metric maintains a rigid link back to its origin, keeping human attribution intact. The AI-enabled pointer acts as an intelligent lens, extracting contextual data seamlessly. Keeping the actual source pages active anchors the generated software in verifiable reality. It prevents the hallucinations common in isolated text generators by forcing the system to cite the exact material currently on your screen. In practice, this accelerates business workflows. Instead of manually scraping 15 different sites for a market analysis, you open them, and the system synthesizes a living dashboard comparing pricing tiers and feature sets. A content strategist can scan top-performing competitor articles and instantly convert them into an interactive blueprint that highlights specific structural gaps. For logistics planning, scattered flight tabs and map pins translate into a custom travel planner featuring scheduled itineraries and real-time budget tracking. In procurement, clicking back and forth between raw product specs is replaced by a single unified portal that automatically calculates complex shipping logic and bulk pricing options. Across every sector, workers spend significant time moving data between formats. Automating this synthesis collapses the time spent on manual entry, allowing the transition from data gathering to analysis to happen almost instantly. This environment is a direct preview of a much larger architectural foundation currently in development, Google's Aluminum OS. Designed as an AI-first operating system, Aluminum OS expects to dissolve the rigid boundaries separating mobile environments, desktop computing, and the cloud. The operating system relies on the ephemeral interface. Software isn't hard-coded years in advance. It's generated precisely when you need it. The interface forms itself, molds to the exact contours of the task you are performing, and then dissolves completely once your objective is finished. Static software forces a user to navigate fixed menus and mechanical constraints. Task-specific software structures prioritize the immediate goal, removing the friction of general-purpose interfaces that were not built for that specific moment. As browsers transition into workflow assistants, the mechanics of discoverability must adapt. Traditional keyword stuffing and superficial word counts carry zero weight when an AI is attempting to build an application. The system demands semantic clarity. Websites that utilize clean schema markup and intuitive HTML tables become the preferred building blocks for these new tools. If your content is chaotic, the infrastructure simply bypasses it. It aggressively filters for data it can parse and assemble. Digital strategy now centers on a metric called progression. The algorithms evaluate whether your content logically anticipates a user's next action and integrates smoothly into their broader workflow. A purely informational page answering a single question is no longer enough. Businesses must organize their digital presence into pristine data structures, or risk being entirely left out of the generative web.